Hi, I'm Robert Kleszczynski, and my research topic was comparing keyword extractions of book reviews from different vendors. The motivation for this project is that the world is relying more and more on e-commerce. We are increasingly buying things that we can't observe firsthand before making a purchase. One of the primary ways we often do research on products is product reviews. We can see what other people's opinions are of a product before we make our own decisions on purchasing it. Now, depending on the website you visit, there will be different user reviews available for you to read. These are, of course, from the customers of that particular vendor. Different vendors often cater to different segments of the population. For example, people who like low prices might be attracted to Walmart, but people may tend to shop at a more expensive Target because of some past experience or behavioral differences. This could naturally bleed into e-commerce, as customers may be attracted to different vendors based on some set of preconceptions or behaviors. This brings me to the research question of this project. Do customers of different vendors have different ways of conveying their opinions in product reviews? The objectives of this study are as follows. I aimed to gather reviews of a lot of books from different vendors. I'll be using TextRank to extract the keywords of these reviews, and we'll compare the results for each vendor. In order to gather the data for this study, I had to find a bunch of titles of books. I stumbled across this database on GitHub by Yusan Lin that has a list of books available at Barnes & Noble, as well as the number of reviews each book has. This database is pretty old, being from 2014, but sorting out the titles in descending order of number of reviews would increase my chances for finding books that have reviews on other websites. If it sold well on one site, it must have sold well in other places as well. Once I compiled a list of books to search, I proceeded to setting up an automated scraper with Selenium to scrape the links from the database of Barnes & Noble books. I grabbed the first page of reviews as well as the ISBN to use as a search query on my other prospective vendor, Books A Million. After scraping reviews from Barnes & Noble, I built an automated search bot with Selenium to search for each book's ISBN on the Books A Million website and clicked on the first available results on the following search results page. Like the Barnes & Noble links, I would then take the first page of reviews from a drop-down menu element on the book's website. My working dataset came out to be kind of small at 150 books. I started at around 495 prospective titles, but had to omit titles based on several reasons. Any books that don't have reviews on both sites were omitted from the list. Also, the automated search sometimes had issues with finding results for an ISBN on the Books A Million website, which means I had to omit those titles as well. As for pre-processing the data, I removed the punctuation from reviews because they often had exaggerated punctuation like multiple exclamation marks or question marks that would get in the way of keyword extraction. Some of the reviews were really short, sometimes even just a sentence like, "I love this book." So I decided to just compile them all into one larger corpus of words and use that as the representative for that vendor's book reviews. After pre-processing, I ran each book's body of reviews through a TextRank algorithm and extracted the top 10 keywords for each vendor. Here's an example for a book titled Sharp Objects. These are the top 10 keywords from Barnes & Noble and the top 10 keywords from Books A Million. I deleted the rank values for the sake of readability on a slide. You can see that there are some words in common here between the two, like Reed and Flynn. Then there's some words that could have benefited from words stemming like ending and end. We can still see that there are some differences in words being used to describe a twist of some kind that probably happens at the end of the book. Like some of the text ranks got words like twist or ending, chills, traumatic. There is a bit of a difference here. In order to evaluate these results, I calculated the Rouge 1 precision of both sets of words in relation to a base model. The base model in question is just a random selection of words from the vocabulary of the body of reviews of the respective vendor. I even ran a calculation between the two vendors to see just how many keywords they had in common with each other. I calculated the average precision scores over all the books and have them displayed here in this table. We can see that the Barnes & Noble precision versus a random keyword list is quite low at 0.13, whereas the Books A Million precision is pretty high at 0.51. If we look at the precision between the two vendors, however, it's on par with the Barnes & Noble versus a random keyword list. Let's analyze these results. The Books A Million Rouge precision was pretty high at 0.518. This can be due to two factors after looking at the spreadsheet of data. The first reason is Books A Million reviews tend to be pretty short, with only a few sentences to convey their basic thoughts and opinions on the book. I found a lot more in-depth reviews on the Barnes & Noble website, where some were up to even a few paragraphs in length. Naturally, having shorter reviews means that these reviews have a smaller pool of vocabulary to choose from randomly. The second contributing factor is that Books A Million had less reviews for books in general. I first grabbed reviews from Barnes & Noble and was able to get a full first page of reviews most of the time for pretty much every book on the list. On the Books A Million website, I was occasionally getting maybe 3 or 4 reviews instead of a full page, or even none at all. The Rouge precisions between vendors was pretty low at 0.161. There's likely two different contributing factors to these results. Using word stemming could help make certain words the same, like end and ending we saw in the earlier example. Another one I noticed after looking through some of the words is there is a good amount of misspellings of words and characters in reviews. For example, one review would say Anna with one N, and then another review would say, or another ranked list would have Anna with 2 N's. These are usually just casually written reviews without too much thought in editing, so they're not exactly the most polished pieces of literature we're scraping. These streams of thought are more prone to user errors and spelling, and there could be some kind of precaution used to help correct character names or commonly misspelled words in future research. From this, we can see that there are several optimizations that can be made to pre-processing algorithm to better evaluate the differences in vendor keywords. If we were to expand this research into other product categories, we need to be mindful that not every vendor or product will have a sufficient amount of reviews to extract for research purposes. For this reason, we should start with a much larger subset of products to search through before narrowing them down due to lack of reviews or unavailability across multiple vendors. One last observation I made is that some reviews noted past influences from either a book club recommendation or a movie tie-in, or movie adaptation really. There was a noted difference in the keywords for several books indicative of this. For example, the 50 Shades of Grey book had a higher ranking on the word movie from Books A Million than Barnes & Noble, which didn't even include the word in its top 10 keywords at all. This could mean that shoppers at Books A Million were more influenced by seeing the movie first and formed their opinions based on the movie rather than just writing their opinion solely on the book. Either way, a larger research set would be necessary to fully ascertain such observations. All in all, there was an observable difference in the way people expressed themselves in reviews. However, larger review data sets would need to be used to confirm these observations. In future works, we may be able to classify user reviews based on used keywords and make different categories of user opinions for books. We did see that customers at Barnes & Noble tended to leave longer, more thought-provoking reviews, so there is some kind of difference in customer segment between these two vendors. But more research is necessary to ascertain just how different these segments really are.